Italian Wine Podcast. Chin Chin with Italian wine people.
Hello, my name is Monty Waldin. This is the Italian Wine Podcast. With me today is Kevin Gagnon, who is a freelance writer based in Freiburg in Germany, but you're a Canadian citizen, is that right?
That's correct.
So that's a bit of a mix. Just can we join the dots on that? What are you doing in Germany?
Well, my original career was as a classical singer, and so Europe in general and Germany in particular are very convenient for those of us that don't like to travel thousands of kilometers to go from job to job. So Germany was the answer. It's a wonderful place.
So a classical singer, can we just enlarge on that a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. My studies began in philosophy, and then I transferred into the music faculty at the university in Western Canada, where I was, to become an opera singer and concert singer, and then decided to move to Germany pretty early on because, like I said, the environment is excellent for it. After having moved to Germany, thanks to the very enjoyable circumstances with the economics, good wine was a lot cheaper than it was in Canada, and I fell in love with wine while I was there.
So you were a very successful singer then, yeah?
I wouldn't say very successful, but I'm certainly a successful singer. I've certainly lived from it for the last 15 years, so that was good.
so just to find out a little bit more about this part of your life. When you were small, did you start singing when you were small?
No, not until I was 17 years old.
So what happened? Did your parents push you to be a singer?
Not at all. In fact, they supported me throughout the entire time, regardless of what I wanted to do. I originally was going to be a lawyer, and that's actually not an uncommon situation for singers. Most of us study something else. It was a late thing. I got into the theater, started to sing and whatnot, but then went into university directly and was going to follow my original plans to become a lawyer. And what happened was I enjoyed singing so much more and realized that I might be compromising a little bit on my personal ethics to become a prosecution lawyer for the Crown in Canada, and decided to follow the singing thing for a little while instead. And it worked out pretty well. Won a lot of competitions, got a bit of a name. It kind of, developed organically, as they say.
Okay, and so your passion, though, was wine, is that correct?
Very early on.
And Italian wine in Germany?
Italian wine was a really early passion because the Italians have more native varieties than anybody else in the world. I love French wine too, don't get me wrong, but it was just so fascinating. You travel the length and breadth of Italy and you encounter varieties from village to village that are sometimes completely different. And for a person that's into any kind of culture or literature, for example, you don't read the same book every night. Why would you drink the same wine every night? For me, it was extremely interesting. So I got involved very early on with the native varieties and the different little appellations. Sorry, they don't call them appellations, of course, but the denominations. And once you start descending that particular rabbit hole, it's really hard to turn back. And Germany's a great market for that. They have a really low per bottle price, as the statisticians like to say, but it doesn't really matter because the import market is really strong. So you can get not everything, but you can get really an extremely broad variety of wines in Germany that come from Italy. It's also not particularly far away, particularly from a Canadian perspective. It's not far away from the southern border.
Freiburg is southern Germany.
It is indeed. But I was the first 10 years in Hamburg. That was a bit interesting because there's no vineyards at all in Hamburg, and the Hanseatic people of Hamburg they like their good wine. So they're pretty happy to give out a couple of euros to buy a decent bottle. Baden is a wine region, so it's a little bit different.
It's where Freiburg is in Baden, yeah?
Exactly. Freiburg is in Baden. It's not the capital, of course, because that's Stuttgart, Baden-Württemberg. But Freiburg is the most important city in the wine region.
But what were you doing? Were you driving down at weekends across through Switzerland down into Italy?
Literally, yes. Absolutely. It's so close that for a Canadian particularly, it's not even 6 hours away. For us, that's a day trip. So you go down, you're into Piedmont immediately, and you can get Barolo and Barbaresco and Timorasso, which is one of my favorite white grapes from a tiny. It's only from Colli Totonesi in Piedmont. It's a tiny little place, but you get this wine that is magical with capers and vinegar and salt, which is really hard to pair with wines. So you find a wine that works with that kind of a dish, you don't forget it. That's something that's really special.
Because you have quite Italian looks. You're very strong features. You've got a bit of stubble.
It's the nose,
tanned.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a nose as well. But if I met you in Italy, I would think you're an Italian, right?
It's a bit of an advantage, I have to admit. When I turn up at an Italian winemaker, or French for that matter, they don't generally approach me as a foreigner, and so it's nice. You get into conversation really quickly. The Italians are, when they realize that you're interested in their wine, it's honestly a little bit difficult to get them to stop talking about it, which is wonderful because you learn so much about them, about the family, about the wines, the vineyards, the region, the history. I mean, it's a complete package. And honestly, for native varieties, there's nothing better than finding out about what's going on about the whole thing. And the family is a really significant part of that, because these people are proud of their local grapes, and they have a good reason to be. They're very often of really high quality. And the fact that the wider world doesn't necessarily know about them, it might be a bit of a stretch to say it's a tragedy, but it's something that definitely begs to be addressed. And knowing these people and seeing how passionate they are about wines that are really fine, it makes it pretty easy to talk about it to other people later on.
So you made your road trips from Freiburg down to Piemonte, which is maybe a 6-7 hour drive?
Maximum. 6 hours. 6 hours.
So how far south have you been?
The farthest south I've been is to Naples. That's it's a bit of a longer drive.
You were driving in Naples?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that again anytime soon, but it was certainly an educational experience. They're very exciting.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to forget there are. You just pretend that there are no road signs at all.
Well, it's more of a suggestion than an actual law. It's an interesting place. No, I think next time when I go, I'm going to stick to taxis and walking about and the trains as far as they go.
So your next trip?
The next trip will absolutely be to Abruzzo and the Marche, because I've particularly at this course I've discovered a couple of wines that I definitely need to find out more about.
The names, the grape varieties of which are?
For example, in Abruzzo, the Montepulciano is the main variety, and what we get in Germany is mostly a little bit more simple than what's available. And the Marche has got a little variety called Tintigliana there's a really tannic, very very dark variety, Tintigliana. And it's something that I definitely want to try to get a little bit more about. It's only in this area. It's actually Molise, not the Marche, but that's right next to it.
When you visit producers, do you tell them what your previous career was as a singer?
I try not to.
Why
honestly.
not? Because they'd love to hear your voice, I'm sure.
Well, they actually quite often come across the fact that I'm a singer, because
they Google you, do they?
They don't do that unless I mean, I actually beg them not to most of the time. It's there's something about the timbre of the voice they notice quite quickly. That from the laugh, from the pitching, that I'm at least in the theater or in singing, that's not something that they miss. Italians are pretty good with music.
So what we need to do is create an Italian wine opera and have you sing it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's there's a lot of music about wine, but a lot of it's French. The Italians are famous for the brindizis, the drinking songs, and there's some really famous ones from Traviata, for example. It offers a lot of opportunities. Wine and music go together very well.
And other things do too. We'll leave it there. Thanks very much for coming in today. It's been fascinating to talk to you, and count me in on the next road trip you make to Italy.
Fantastic.
I'm based in Tuscany, so you just drive past, we'll just carry on heading south. I'll do the driving in Naples, right?
Brilliant. I'd appreciate that.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Follow Italian Wine Podcast on Facebook and Instagram.